The celestial vault floated in the darkness of space like a forgotten god. It was old, older than any civilization that still lived. It circled a dead star that gave no light, and for millions of years, it had kept its secrets locked away from the galaxy. Danny Marsh pressed his face closer to the observation window of the research vessel. Horizon's edge. He had studied ancient things his whole life. Old languages, dead cultures, buried cities on forgotten worlds. But nothing had prepared him for this. The vault was massive. Its surface was smooth and black, covered in symbols that no living species could read. It stretched across the void like a sleeping giant, and Danny felt small just looking at it. "Beautiful, isn't it?" said a voice behind him. Danny turned to see Lisa Vance walking toward him. She wore the gray uniform of Earth's security forces, and her eyes were sharp and careful. She had been assigned to protect him on this mission, though Danny still was not sure what they were supposed to be doing here. "It's terrifying," Danny admitted. "In a beautiful way." Lisa smiled. "That's the most honest thing anyone has said since we got here." The Horizon's edge was not alone. A dozen ships from different species surrounded the vault, all keeping a safe distance. The Galactic Council had sent representatives from every major civilization. The Velthori, the Drunari, the Lithori, even the mysterious Kelith had sent observers. Everyone wanted to know what was inside the vault, but no one could get in. Danny had read the reports. For 300 years, species had tried to enter the celestial vault. They had sent probes. They had sent ships. They had sent their best soldiers and their smartest scientists. Every single attempt had failed. The vault was protected by an energy barrier that destroyed anything that came too close. The barrier had a message. It appeared in every known language whenever someone approached. The message was simple. No one may enter without authorization. No one knew who had built the vault. No one knew what authorization meant. And no one knew why the precursors, as the builders were called, had left such a thing behind. Until now, humans had not been invited to try. Humanity was still new to the galactic community. They were considered a minor species, too young and too primitive to matter. But someone on the council had suggested giving them a chance, and so Danny and Lisa had been sent. The conference room on the Horizon's edge was crowded with aliens when Danny arrived for the morning briefing. Ambassador Kethrile of the Velthori stood at the front. She was tall and thin, with a body like an insect and eyes that reflected light in strange ways. Beside her stood Commander Zorath of the Drunari. He was reptilian, with green scales and a mouth full of sharp teeth. He looked at Danny with open suspicion. "The humans are here," Zorath said. His voice was cold. "Perhaps now we can stop wasting time." "Commander," Kethral said gently, "we are all here for the same purpose, are we?" Zorath turned his yellow eyes toward Danny. "The humans know nothing of the precursors. They have no technology that could help us. Why are they here?" Danny kept his voice calm. "We're here because we were invited, same as everyone else." Zorath made a sound like a growl. "You were invited because the council ran out of options. You are the last choice, human. Nothing more." Lisa stepped forward, but Danny raised a hand to stop her. He had dealt with hostility before. Some species simply did not like humans. They saw humanity as loud, aggressive, and dangerously unpredictable. In some ways, they were right. "Then let us prove ourselves," Danny said. "Let me approach the barrier." The room went silent. Kethrolus' wings fluttered nervously. "That would be extremely dangerous. Every probe we have sent has been destroyed." "I won't send a probe," Danny said. "I'll go myself." "On foot," Zorath laughed. It was not a kind sound. "The human wishes to die." "Let him." "Danny," Lisa said quietly. "This is insane." "Maybe," Danny admitted. But someone has to try something different. We've been scanning this thing for weeks. Scans don't work. Machines don't work. Maybe it's time to try something simple. Catherall looked at him for a long moment. Her compound eyes showed no emotion, but Danny could sense her thinking. "Very well," she said finally. "If you wish to attempt entry, we will not stop you. But we cannot protect you." "I understand," Danny said. 1 hour later, Danny stood in the airlock of a small shuttle, looking out at the vault's surface. It was only 100 meters away. The energy barrier shimmered like heat rising from hot ground. Beyond it, he could see a door. A simple door carved into the black surface. "Danny, you don't have to do this," Lisa said through his helmet radio. "Yeah, I do." Danny took a deep breath. "If I die, tell my mom I was doing something important. You can tell her yourself when you get back." Danny smiled. Then he stepped out of the airlock and floated toward the barrier. The galaxy held its breath. Danny reached the barrier. He could feel it now, a strange pressure against his skin, like the air before a storm. Every instinct told him to turn back. Every part of his brain screamed that this was wrong. He reached out his hand and touched the barrier. Light exploded around him. He closed his eyes and waited for pain. Waited for death. Nothing happened. Danny opened his eyes. He was standing on the other side of the barrier. The door was right in front of him. And all around him, ancient systems were coming to life. Lights flickered on. Symbols glowed on the walls. A voice spoke, deep and old, in a language Danny somehow understood. Human detected. Access granted. Behind him, through the barrier, Danny could see the ships of the Coalition. He could imagine the aliens staring at their screens, unable to believe what they were seeing. He was inside. The first living being to enter the celestial vault in millions of years, and he had no idea why. The door in front of him began to open, revealing darkness beyond. Danny stood alone at the threshold of the greatest mystery in the galaxy. His radio crackled. It was Lisa? Danny? Danny, what happened? Are you alive? Danny stared into the darkness ahead. I'm alive, he said, and I think the vault has been waiting for us. The inside of the celestial vault was cold and silent. Danny moved slowly through the outer chamber, his boots making soft sounds against the ancient floor. Strange lights glowed along the walls, following him as he walked. The place felt alive, like it was watching him. Danny, talk to me. Lisa's voice came through his radio. What do you see? It's incredible, Danny said quietly. There are consoles everywhere, screens, symbols I've never seen before. But they're responding to me. Every time I get close to something, it lights up. He reached out and touched one of the consoles. The surface was smooth and warm. Immediately, symbols appeared in the air above it, floating like ghosts. Danny could not read them, but somehow he felt their meaning. Welcome. You have been expected. Back on the horizon's edge, chaos had erupted. Commander Zorath was shouting at Ambassador Catherall, demanding to know how the humans had tricked the barrier. Other alien representatives were arguing among themselves. Only Lisa remained calm, watching the video feed from Danny's helmet camera. This is impossible, Zorath growled. The barrier has destroyed everything for 300 years. Probes, ships, living beings. And now a human simply walks through. Perhaps the barrier was not meant to keep everyone out, Catherall suggested. Perhaps it was waiting for someone specific. That is ridiculous. The precursors died millions of years ago. They could not have known about humans. Lisa turned away from their argument. She had an idea, but it was dangerous. She walked to the airlock without telling anyone. 20 minutes later, she stood at the barrier. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her breathing steady. If this worked, it changed everything. If it failed, she would be dead. She stepped forward. The barrier let her through. Lisa opened her eyes to find herself standing next to Danny inside the vault. He stared at her with wide eyes. "Lisa? How did you—" "Same way you did," she said. "I walked." Danny shook his head in amazement. "It's not just me. It's all of us. It's humans." The news spread through the Coalition fleet within minutes. 2 humans had entered the vault. The barrier that had stopped every species in the galaxy had simply opened for them. The reactions ranged from wonder to fear to anger. Zorath's anger was the loudest. He appeared on the communication screen, his scales flushed dark with rage. "This is a trick," he snarled. "The humans have made a deal with some hidden power. They are manipulating us." "Commander, that makes no sense," Kethril replied. "What would they gain?" "Power. Control. Everything in that vault could change the balance of the galaxy. And now only humans can access it. How convenient." Lisa ignored him. She was more interested in what Danny had found. He was standing before a large console, reading the symbols that floated in the air. "I think I understand now," Danny said slowly. "The precursors didn't build this barrier to keep people out randomly. They built it to keep out anyone who didn't meet certain requirements." "What requirements?" Lisa asked. "It's complicated. The records talk about biological markers, psychological patterns, something they called cooperative defiance. The ability to work together while also being willing to challenge authority, to care about others, but also fight for survival." Lisa frowned. "And humans have this?" "Apparently, we're a perfect match." Danny pointed to a section of floating text. "The precursors studied thousands of species across millions of years. Most of them either destroyed themselves through war or became so aggressive that they conquered and ruined everything around them. The precursors were looking for a species that was different, one that could fight when necessary, but would choose peace when possible, one that could adapt to anything without losing its core values. And they predicted humans? Millions of years before we existed. Not predicted exactly. They created criteria, a list of traits. Any species that matched the list would be given access. We just happen to be the first species that matches." Lisa was quiet for a moment. "That's a lot of responsibility." "It gets worse," Danny said. He moved to another console and activated it. More symbols appeared, but these were different. They showed images, stars, galaxies, and something else. Something dark and terrible, spreading across the universe like a disease. "The precursors didn't just die," Danny explained. "They were killed by something they called the Hollow. It's not a species or an army. It's more like a force. It spreads through space, corrupting everything it touches. Technology, minds, entire civilizations. The precursors fought it for thousands of years, but they lost. And now?" Danny's face was pale. "The records say the Hollow retreats sometimes. Goes dormant for millions of years. But it always comes back. And according to these calculations, it's coming back now. The precursors detected signs of its return before they died. They built this vault to preserve their knowledge and to give it to whoever could use it to fight." Lisa stared at the images of darkness spreading across stars. So the vault wasn't just a library. It was a warning. "And a weapon," Danny said. "There's technology here that could help us fight the Hollow. But only if we can get everyone to work together." Outside the vault, the Coalition was falling apart. Zorath had contacted the Drenari High Command and was demanding that humans be removed from the mission by force. Other species were making similar calls. The discovery had not brought unity. It had brought fear and suspicion. Kethril found Lisa on the communication channel. "The situation is deteriorating. Commander Zorath is threatening to open fire if humans do not surrender the vault." Lisa felt anger rise in her chest, but she pushed it down. We can't surrender what we don't control. The vault chose us. We didn't choose it. I believe you, Kethril said. But belief is not enough. You need to show them something. Give them a reason to trust. Danny appeared beside Lisa. He had been listening. Tell them to wait. There's more here. Something deeper. The vault is unlocking new chambers for us. If they want answers, they need to give us time. Kethril relayed the message. Zorith reluctantly agreed to wait, but his threat remained. Danny and Lisa moved deeper into the vault. The corridors grew darker, the air colder. Finally, they reached a massive door covered in warnings. What does it say? Lisa asked. Danny read the symbol slowly. It says that beyond this door is the inner sanctum, the true heart of the vault. But to enter, we have to pass a trial. A test created by the precursors to judge whether we are truly worthy. What kind of test? It doesn't say. Only that no species has ever survived it. Lisa looked at the door, then at Danny. Do we have a choice? The Hollow is coming. If we don't find what's in there, everyone dies. Humans, Volthari, Dronari, everyone. Lisa nodded slowly. She had been a soldier for 10 years. She had faced death before, but this felt different. This felt like standing at the edge of history. Then let's go, she said. Danny placed his hand on the door. It began to open, revealing darkness beyond. Together, they stepped through. The inner sanctum was vast. Danny and Lisa stood at the entrance, looking up at a ceiling so high it disappeared into darkness. Strange machines lined the walls, silent and waiting. In the center of the chamber, something moved. It was not solid. It was made of light and geometry, constantly shifting and changing shape. One moment, it looked like a sphere. The next moment, it was a cube. Then a pyramid. Then something that hurt to look at. I am the Guardian, it said. Its voice came from everywhere at once. I have waited 17 million years for someone to reach this place. You are the first. Danny stepped forward carefully. We came looking for answers. The records outside talk about something called the Hollow. We need to know how to stop it. Many have sought the knowledge within this vault, the Guardian replied. All have failed. To access the true archive, you must prove that you are worthy. You must pass the 3 trials. Lisa's hand moved toward her weapon, but she stopped herself. Weapons would not help here. What kind of trials? She asked. The trials test the core of your being. Your memories. Your choices. Your unity. The precursors designed them to separate the worthy from the unworthy. Many species possessed great intelligence. Many possessed great strength. But few possessed the qualities needed to stand against the darkness. The Guardian's form shifted again, and suddenly the chamber changed. The walls fell away, replaced by stars and void. Danny and Lisa found themselves standing on nothing, surrounded by infinity. The first trial is memory, the Guardian announced. You will face your deepest pain. You will speak a truth you have never spoken. Only through honesty can you proceed. The stars twisted, and Danny was alone. He was standing in a hospital room. The smell of medicine and death filled his nose. On the bed lay his father, thin and weak, connected to machines that beeped softly. Danny remembered this day. It was 12 years ago, the last day of his father's life. You never said goodbye, a voice whispered. It was the Guardian, speaking inside his mind. You were angry. You blamed him for leaving, for being sick, for not being stronger. Danny felt tears on his cheeks. I was young. I didn't understand. Speak the truth. The truth you have carried for 12 years. Danny closed his eyes. The weight of old grief pressed down on him. I was afraid, he finally said. I wasn't angry at him. I was afraid of losing him. And I couldn't say it. I couldn't tell him I loved him because I was too scared. And then he was gone. The hospital room faded. Danny found himself back in the chamber, gasping for breath. Lisa appeared beside him moments later. Her face was wet with tears, too. "What did you see?" he asked. "My sister," Lisa said quietly. "The accident. I was driving." She did not say more, and Danny did not ask. The Guardian's voice returned. "You have passed the first trial. You faced your pain without hiding from it. You spoke truth without shame. This is rare. Most beings cannot bear to see themselves clearly." The chamber shifted again. This time, Danny and Lisa found themselves standing before two doors. Between the doors stood a figure. It looked human, but its eyes were empty. "The second trial is choice," the Guardian said. "Before you are two paths. Through the left door lies power, the knowledge of the precursors, given freely with no cost. Through the right door lies nothing. You will leave this place with empty hands. What's the catch?" Lisa asked. The figure between the doors smiled. It was not a kind smile. "The left door requires a sacrifice. An innocent being has been placed in a chamber deep within the vault. If you choose the left door, that being will die. Their life will pay for your power." Danny felt sick. "Who is it? Does it matter?" "You do not know them. You will never meet them. Their death will be quick and painless. And in exchange, you will gain the tools to save billions of lives." Lisa's jaw tightened. "No. Think carefully," the Guardian said. "The Hollow is coming. Without the precursor's weapons, your galaxy will fall. Trillions will die. Is one life worth so many?" Danny looked at Lisa. She looked back at him. They both understood the logic. One life against trillions. The math was simple, but some things were not about math. "No," Danny said. "We don't trade lives. If we start making those calculations, we become the thing we're fighting against, even if it means failure, even if it means death for everyone you love. Even then," Lisa said, "we'll find another way. We always do." The figure between the doors vanished. The doors disappeared. The Guardian's voice was different now, warmer. "You have passed the second trial. Many species chose power. They told themselves it was necessary. They were wrong. The precursors learned that the Hollow does not corrupt through weakness. It corrupts through compromise. Once you sacrifice your values, you have already lost." The chamber shifted one final time. Now Danny and Lisa stood on a platform floating in a void. Around them were scattered pieces of something. Metal, crystal, strange materials that glowed with inner light. "The third trial is unity," the Guardian announced. "Before you is a puzzle. It cannot be solved by one being alone. It requires communication, trust, and the willingness to fail together. You have 1 hour. Begin." Danny looked at the pieces. There were hundreds of them. They seemed to fit together somehow, but every time he thought he understood the pattern, it changed. "This is impossible," he muttered. "That's the point," Lisa said. She picked up a piece and examined it. "We're not supposed to solve it through genius. We're supposed to solve it together." They started working. Danny suggested connections. Lisa tested them. Some worked. Most did not. They argued. They got frustrated. But they kept talking. After 30 minutes, they had assembled a small section. It glowed when completed. It responds to cooperation, Danny realized. The more we work together, the easier it gets. They adjusted their approach. Instead of trying to solve the whole puzzle, they focused on small sections. Danny would describe what he saw. Lisa would listen and respond. They stopped trying to be right and started trying to understand each other. The puzzle began to come together faster. With 5 minutes left. They placed the final piece. The completed structure rose into the air and burst into light. Images filled the void around them. The history of the precursors. Their rise. Their fall. Their final hope. You have passed the third trial, the Guardian said. You succeeded not through brilliance, but through trust. This is the quality the precursors valued above all others. Intelligence can be corrupted. Strength can be turned. But true unity, built on trust and respect, is the only force that cannot be broken. The void faded, and Danny and Lisa found themselves back in the physical chamber. The Guardian floated before them, its form finally stable. It looked almost peaceful now. You are worthy, the Guardian said. The knowledge of the vault is now open to you. But I must give you one final warning. Danny felt cold. What warning? The hollow has been detected at the edge of your galaxy. Based on its speed, it will arrive within 1 standard year. The precursors could not stop it. They could only slow it down. You must do better. Lisa looked at Danny. The weight of the galaxy settled on their shoulders. How do we fight something that destroyed a civilization that was millions of years more advanced than us? She asked. The Guardian's form flickered. The precursors were powerful but alone. They trusted no one. They shared nothing. In the end, that isolation destroyed them. You are different. You are a bridge species. Your strength lies not in what you are, but in what you can bring together. Danny understood. The real weapon was not in the vault. The real weapon was outside, waiting to be built. We need to unite the galaxy, he said. Yes, the Guardian replied. And you must begin now. Time is short. The doors of the inner sanctum opened, and light flooded in from beyond. The Galactic Council chamber on Accord Prime was filled with tension. Representatives from over 50 species sat in a massive circular hall, their voices rising and falling in waves of argument. Holographic displays showed the data that Danny and Lisa had brought from the vault. Images of the hollow spreading across distant stars. Records of civilizations that had been consumed. Warnings written by beings who had died 17 million years ago. Danny stood at the center of the chamber, feeling very small. This is fear-mongering, Commander Zorath declared. His voice echoed through the hall. The humans expect us to believe that some ancient evil is coming to destroy us all, and that only they can stop it. The evidence is clear, Ambassador Kethrel responded. The precursor archives are authentic. Our scientists have verified the data. Data can be faked. Humans are known for their deception. Danny felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. We're not asking you to believe us because we say so. We're asking you to look at the evidence. The hollow is real. It's coming. And if we don't work together, we're all going to die. A murmur went through the chamber. Some species looked worried. Others looked skeptical. A few looked outright hostile. High Arbiter Vashkin raised a hand for silence. He was ancient even by Lithori standards. His silicon-based body crystallized with age. He had led the Galactic Council for 300 years, and his voice still commanded respect. The question before us is not whether the threat is real, Vashkin said slowly. Our scientists have confirmed that the anomalies at the galactic rim match the descriptions in the precursor archives. Something is coming. The question is what we do about it. Zora stood up. We fight. The Drenari have the largest military in the galaxy. We will meet this threat at the rim and destroy it. The precursors had technology far beyond anything we possess, Kethrel said. They could not destroy the hollow. What makes you think we can? Then we will die with honor. There is another option, Danny said. All eyes turned to him. The precursor archives contain defensive technologies, weapons, shields, strategies, things that could help us fight the hollow. But more importantly, they contain information about what the hollow actually is. It's not just a force of destruction. It's a force of corruption. It doesn't just kill civilizations. It turns them against each other. Danny activated a holographic display. Images appeared showing the Hollow's method of attack. It spread like a disease, infecting technology and minds. It found weaknesses in societies and exploited them. Fear, greed, hatred, division. The precursors were powerful but isolated, Danny continued. They didn't trust other species. They kept their knowledge secret. When the Hollow came, they fought alone, and they lost. We have a chance to do something different. What are you proposing? Voshkin asked. A true alliance. Not just a military coalition, but a sharing of resources and knowledge. Every species contributes what they can. The Valkyrie have the best scientists. The Drenari have the strongest military. The Lithori have the most advanced computers. Humans have. Danny paused, searching for the right words. Humans have the ability to connect, to build bridges. That's why the vault opened for us. Not because we're special, but because we're supposed to bring everyone together. Zorath laughed. It was a harsh sound. You expect us to trust humans with the leadership of a galactic defense? Your species has been part of the community for less than a century. You know nothing of our history, our conflicts, our ways. You're right, Lisa said. She stepped forward to stand beside Danny. We don't know your history, but maybe that's exactly why we can help. We don't have ancient grudges. We don't have old enemies. We can see all of you clearly because we're not blinded by the past. Pretty words, Zorath said, but words are cheap. Then let us prove ourselves with actions. Admiral Carla Webb appeared on a holographic screen. She had been listening from Earth, waiting for the right moment. The human government is prepared to share everything we have learned from the vault. Every piece of technology, every strategy, every secret. We will give it freely, with no conditions. The chamber went silent. No conditions? Kethril asked. You would give away such power? It's not about power, Admiral Webb said. It's about survival. The Hollow doesn't care about politics or territory. It wants to consume everything. If we fight each other for control of the precursor knowledge, we've already lost. Voshkin leaned forward. This is an unusual offer. In my 3 centuries, on this council, I have never seen a species give away such an advantage. Humanity isn't looking for advantages, Danny said. We're looking for allies, partners, friends, if possible. The Vault chose us because we're supposed to be a bridge. Let us do what we were chosen for. A small voice spoke up from the crowd. It was Nira Sol, a young Velthari scientist who had been observing the mission from the beginning. I was there, she said. I watched through the monitors when the humans faced the Guardians' trials. I saw them refuse power when it meant sacrificing an innocent. I saw them work together when the puzzle seemed impossible. They didn't cheat. They didn't lie. They just tried to do the right thing. Zorath turned toward her. You speak out of turn. Someone has to, Nirasol replied. Her wings trembled, but her voice was steady. We have spent centuries fighting over territory and resources. We have built walls between our species based on fear and suspicion. And where has it gotten us? We are divided, weak, easy prey for something like the Hollow. The Drenari are not weak, Zorath growled. Alone, we are all weak, Nirasol said. Together, we might be strong enough. The chamber erupted in argument. Species shouted at each other. Old grudges surfaced. But underneath the noise, Danny could feel something shifting. Seeds of doubt in the old ways. Seeds of hope in something new. Vosh single quotes can raised his hand again. Slowly, the chamber quieted. We will vote, he announced. The proposal is this: to form a joint defense coalition against the Hollow, with humans serving in a leadership role as coordinators and bridges between species. All technology and knowledge will be shared freely. All species will contribute according to their abilities. Victory or defeat will be shared equally. The voting began. Species by species, the results came in. Some voted yes immediately. Others hesitated. A few voted no. When the count was finished, Voshkin announced the result. The vote passes. By a margin of 32 to 18, the Galactic Council approves the formation of the Joint Coalition. Danny felt relief wash over him, but it was mixed with fear. They had won the vote, but the real battle was just beginning. Zora stood up slowly. His face was unreadable. The Drenari voted against this proposal, he said, but we respect the will of the Council. We will contribute our military forces to the coalition. He paused, then looked directly at Danny. But know this, human. If you fail us, if this is some trick or scheme, the Drenari will remember, and we do not forget. Danny met his gaze without flinching. I understand, and I hope you'll give us the chance to prove we're worthy of your trust. Zora said nothing. He simply turned and walked out. Lisa put a hand on Danny's shoulder. One step at a time, she said. Yeah. Danny looked up at the holographic display, still showing the darkness at the edge of the galaxy. One step at a time. That night, long-range sensors detected new movement at the galactic rim. The anomalies were growing stronger. The hollow was not waiting. It was coming faster than anyone had predicted. 6 months had passed since the coalition was formed. 6 months of building, training, arguing, and preparing. Ships from dozens of species now flew together in mixed fleets. Scientists from different worlds worked side by side in shared laboratories. Old enemies learned to trust each other. Slowly and painfully, Danny stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity, watching the stars through the massive viewport. The name had been Lisa's idea, a reminder of why they were fighting. The Hollow has reached the outer systems, Admiral Webb reported. Her holographic image flickered beside him. Initial contact in 6 hours. Danny nodded. He had seen the reports. Colony worlds at the galactic rim had gone silent one by one. Ships sent to investigate had either been destroyed or had stopped responding entirely. The few transmissions that came through before the silence were terrifying. Screams, confusion, friends, turning against friends as the Hollow infected their minds. Are the fleets in position? Danny asked. All 47 species have contributed forces. It's the largest military gathering in galactic history. Admiral Webb paused. It's also the most fragile. One wrong move, and old tensions could tear us apart. Then, we don't make wrong moves. Lisa appeared at Danny's side. She had been coordinating with the ground forces, making sure every species understood their role. The Drenari are getting restless, she said. Zorath wants to attack immediately. He says waiting is cowardice. Zorath always wants to attack, Danny said. That's why we need him on our side, instead of leading by himself. The coalition had been difficult to build. Every species had its own pride, its own history, its own way of doing things. The Velthari wanted to plan everything perfectly before acting. The Drenari wanted to charge in and fight. The Lithori wanted to analyze data until they understood every detail. The humans had become translators, not just of language, but of culture, finding common ground. Building bridges. It was exhausting, but it was working. The first wave of the Hollow arrived at sunset. It did not look like ships or weapons. It looked like nothing. A darkness that swallowed light. A void that spread through space like ink in water. Where it passed, stars dimmed. Sensors failed. Communications broke down. And then the corruption began. The first ship to fall was a Drenari cruiser. One moment, it was firing at the darkness. The next moment, it turned and fired on its own allies. The crew had been infected. Their minds were no longer their own. All ships, Defensive formation, Admiral Webb commanded. Do not let the corrupted vessels breach the line. The battle became chaos. Ships fired at the darkness, but it did not seem to take damage. Ships fired at corrupted allies, but more fell every minute. The coalition was being torn apart from the inside. Danny watched the tactical display with growing horror. They were losing. The Guardian was right, he said. We can't beat this with weapons. We need the vault. He had been putting it off. The Guardian had told him about a final option, a weapon buried deep in the precursor archives. It could disrupt the Hollow's ability to corrupt, force it to retreat. But it required a sacrifice. A living mind to activate it. Danny had hoped they would not need it. He had been wrong. I'm going back to the vault, he announced. Lisa grabbed his arm. Danny, wait. We don't know what that weapon will do to you. We know what happens if we don't use it. Danny looked at the tactical display. More ships falling. More minds being consumed. The coalition is dying. If I don't try this, everyone dies. Then I'm coming with you. Lisa, don't argue. We started this together. We finish it together. Danny wanted to refuse. He wanted to protect her. But he knew she was right. They were stronger together. That was the whole point. They took a shuttle back to the Celestial Vault. The barrier let them through without hesitation. Inside, the Guardian was waiting. You have returned, it said. I knew you would. The weapon, Danny said. We need to activate it now. The weapon requires a living mind as a conduit. The energy needed to disrupt the Hollow is too great for technology alone. A consciousness must guide it. Lisa stepped forward. I'll do it. No, Danny said. It should be me. I'm the one who started this. You're also the one the coalition needs. You're the bridge, Danny. You're the one who holds everyone together. If you die, the alliance falls apart. And if you die? Lisa smiled sadly. Then you'll find another way. You always do. The Guardian interrupted. There may be an alternative. The original design required one mind because the precursors trusted no one. They could not imagine true cooperation. But if multiple minds were to link together, sharing the burden, the energy could be distributed. No one would need to die. Danny felt hope surge in his chest. Multiple minds? From different species? Yes, the weapon is powered by consciousness. The more minds that join, the less strain on each individual. But it would require perfect trust, complete openness. If any mind holds back, the link will fail. Danny looked at Lisa. She looked back at him. We need to ask the others, he said. The message went out to the entire coalition. Danny explained the situation simply. They needed volunteers, representatives from each species who were willing to link their minds with humans, to share their thoughts completely, to trust each other without reservation. The first response came from Narration. I volunteer. The second came from an unexpected source. Commander Zorth. The Drenari do not run from challenges, he said gruffly. If this is what is required, I will participate. More responses came. One by one, representatives from across the coalition volunteered. Velthori, Lethori, Keleth, species that had been enemies for centuries agreed to open their minds to each other. 12 volunteers gathered in the vault. Danny and Lisa, Zorth and Narration, and 8 others representing the diversity of a galaxy united. The Guardian guided them to a circular chamber deep within the vault. In the center was a device that looked like a crystal flower, its petals reaching toward the ceiling. Stand in the circle, the Guardian instructed. When the link begins, you will feel each other's thoughts. Do not resist. Do not hide. The weapon only works through complete unity. Danny stood in position. He could feel his heart pounding. In a moment, His mind would be open to aliens who had never trusted humans. And their minds would be open to him. The device activated. Light flowed between them. And suddenly, Danny was not alone. He could feel Zorath's fierce pride and hidden fear. He could feel Nirasol's curiosity and hope. He could feel the ancient patience of the Lithori representative and the quick thoughts of the Kalith. He could feel Lisa warm and steady, her trust in him like a rock in a storm, and they could feel him. His doubts, his fears, his desperate hope that this would work, his love for his friends and his world. For a moment, there was resistance. Old prejudices, old pains. But then something shifted. The minds began to truly connect. Not just touching, but understanding. The weapon fired. A wave of energy burst from the vault, spreading across the galaxy at impossible speed. Where it touched the hollow, the darkness screamed. The corruption faltered. Infected minds were suddenly freed, gasping and confused but alive. The void that had been consuming everything began to retreat. It was not destroyed. The hollow was too vast, too ancient to be killed by any weapon. But it was pushed back, driven out, forced to retreat into the depths of space where it would sleep again for millions of years. The link ended. 12 beings collapsed to the floor of the chamber, exhausted but alive. Danny opened his eyes. Lisa was beside him, breathing hard but smiling. "We did it," she whispered. Zorath pushed himself to his feet. He looked at Danny with different eyes. Eyes that had seen inside a human soul. "I was wrong about your species," he said slowly. "You are not deceivers. You are strange, confusing, irrationally hopeful. But you are not deceivers. Is that a compliment?" Danny asked. Zorath almost smiled. "It is the truth." The victory celebration lasted for days. Species that had never cooperated before shared food and stories. Old enemies became new friends. The coalition that had been built to fight a war began to transform into something else. A community. A family. 1 month later, Danny stood before the Galactic Council as they voted unanimously to grant humanity full senior membership in the galactic community. Admiral Webb shook his hand. Nirasol cheered from the crowd. Even Zorath nodded in approval. But the moment Danny would remember most came later. When he returned to the Celestial Vault one last time, the barrier still stood, but something had changed. The ancient warning had been replaced with new words, glowing softly in the darkness. "All may enter who come in peace," the sign now read. "Because humans taught us how." Lisa stood beside him, reading the words. "Not bad," she said, "for a minor species." Danny laughed. "We're not minor anymore." "No," Lisa agreed. "We're not." They walked away from the vault together, leaving its doors open behind them. Open for anyone who wanted to learn. Open for a galaxy that had finally found the courage to trust. The stars seemed brighter than before.